afternoon, everybody. What's happening, everybody? Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. Zohran. We're going to be talking a lot of New York today, baby, because Zohran Mamdani has decided that he's going to hold either Albany or the totality of the state of New York hostage unless they do what he wants. And what is it that he wants? Well, he wants to do something that hasn't been done in New York City in 25 years. Absolutely insane policies coming out of the mayor's office, but that shouldn't shock anybody. One policy that's coming out sounds awfully familiar to the American right. To the American right? What the hell would Zohran Mamdani be doing that would sound similar to the American right? Well, we'll show you guys that because progressives seem to not mind the idea so much now that it's coming out of the mouth of Kami Mamdani. Also, more fallout coming from whatever the hell it is you want to call AOC's calamitous episode in Munich. Democrats beginning to flee, saying that perhaps she may not be all she's cracked up to be. Breaking news. AOC is a Damas. That shouldn't shock anybody. Also, we've got to look at the ladies of The View because why the hell not? Because, it's The View and they're fun to make fun of. Also, the economy continues to grow. Kevin O'Leary is having far too much fun on CNN. And the woke princess of the American Olympics, sucks. She sucks. She's just not very good at what she does. And that's a real shame. Not really. We're going to laugh at somebody who annoys me because, that's always fun to do. Before we get started, though, guys, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. Where the hell is my live chat? Where the hell? There it is. There we go. Let's pop that up onto the screen. How's everybody doing today? Also, guys, once again, make sure you do me a favor and share the video out wherever it is you may be watching, especially if you're watching on the Facebook. I want to thank you guys. The show's been growing every day, starting to get back to the numbers where we first started, so I really do appreciate that. Also, for the local audience, once again, guys, next Tuesday, we'll be having our State of the Union watch party, which will be our unofficial midterms kickoff at Napper Tandy's in Smithtown, teaming up with the local Turning Point USA chapters. That's going to be from 8 to 12. Napper Tandy's in Smithtown. It's going to be a really good day. We got some special guests coming in. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you guys check that out. That's next Tuesday for the State of the Union. Giddy up. Let's go. How's everybody doing today? Let's check everybody out here. Let's check everybody out. Christina, how are you? How are you? Watching on Facebook, TPH, how are you? Very, very good stuff. Always sharing on Facebook. I like it. Kit Kat Mar, how are you? Let's dive right on in. So let's start out with the mayor. It's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who in the first 45 days of his administration has accomplished nothing. Has accomplished less than nothing. Has accomplished, has actually, not only is he, I get a lot of people are upset with the Trump administration for not doing a lot of the things they said they were going to do right off the bat, but Zohran is actually impressive because he has actually not only not done what he said he was going to do, he did the exact opposite of what he said he was going to do. Number one, the buses are going to be fast and free. The buses are not fast. The buses, in fact, cost more money. Homeless people, many homeless people, matter of fact, 19 homeless people have frozen to death on the New York City streets. We have no rent freezes. We have none of those. As a matter of fact, Zohran has decided that, since we're not going to be able to freeze the rent, which is a terrible policy in the first place, instead what we're going to do in New York City is we're going to raise property taxes by 9.5% for everyone across the 5 boroughs. Here's Fox 5 with that report.
Steve and Natasha, Mayor Zohran Mamdani is proposing raising property taxes by 9.5% to fill the city's budget gap, calling this the nuclear option if state lawmakers don't raise taxes on millionaires and corporations this year. Now, the last time the city raised property taxes so significantly was in 2003 under former Mayor Michael Bloomberg, following the 9/11 terror attacks that led to a recession. Now, Mamdani says that the city is currently facing a $5.4 billion budget gap over 2 years. He claims the city only has two options to raise this revenue to fill the gap. Option one is to have state lawmakers raise taxes on millionaires and corporations and have the state contribute more back to the city in revenue. Option two.
Oh, wait. Hold on a minute. So one of the options is, in order to pay for all the bullshit in New York City, is to have people in Buffalo, 9.5 hours away, foot the bill. Okay, Zohran, I see it. The normal communist disease, asking other people for their money. Very good. Let's see what else he's got.
Which a mayor called a last resort, is to increase property taxes by 9.5% and drain the city's rainy day fund. Fiscal watchdog groups like the Citizens Budget Commission have been urging the city to find savings and cut programs rather than raise taxes. The mayor said the administration already budgeted for about $1.7 billion in savings they hope to find over the next 2 years. But Mamdani continued to insist that the only way out of this crisis is to raise taxes, and the only taxes he can control are property taxes.
If we find additional savings, we will absolutely use them. However, responsibly, I cannot tell New Yorkers that that is the likelihood over these next few months. What I am showcasing to New Yorkers is that there is one tax the city can raise. It is a broken property tax system. We do not want to do so, which is why we have said time and again that we want to work with Albany to ensure that we resolve this fiscal crisis.
But critics of the plan say
Now, just to be clear, work with Albany means do what I say or else.
raising property taxes goes against a mayor's affordability agenda, especially as a mayor is still looking to freeze a rent for rent-stabilized apartments. Governor Kathy Hochul just yesterday announced her plan to have the state give the city an additional $1.5 billion this year, which shrunk the original $7 billion gap to $5.4 billion. Hochul today said she is opposed to the mayor raising property taxes, adding that she doesn't think it's needed. The new council speaker, Julie Menon, also pushing back, saying in a statement that proposing to raise property taxes is not an option that should even be on the table. Queensborough President Donovan Richards also weighing in, saying it's a non-starter and would severely impact homeowners in Queens.
You're going to force people out of their homes. You're talking about putting people, especially seniors, our most vulnerable seniors who have absolutely done everything. They've built these cities. This was your HRA workers. These are your NYPD officers who really have done everything to build home ownership and generational wealth. And this is certainly a setback.
Now, Mamdani today emphasized that this is a preliminary budget, which means it can and most likely will change during budget negotiations. The city must have a finalized budget by July 1st.
Right, so it's not technically what's going to happen yet. And as I said to you guys on the show yesterday, for the people who watching this who don't live in New York, many of you have this idea of like Midtown Manhattan, 50, 60, 70-story skyscrapers going to the just ascending into the heavens. That is not what the majority, that is not what like 90% of New York City looks like. New York City involves Brooklyn and Queens and Staten Island and the Bronx, where there are many single-family and two-family homes that Mayor Mamdani is now proposing raising the property taxes on in order to, I don't know what. I have no idea what. Part of what he's also planning to do, well, you know, we got to make sure we protect the illegal immigrants in New York City. So his new budget fails to restore things like the Veteran Suicide Prevention Hotline. That's right, leaving the program at a 40% capacity. While City Hall cites a fiscal crisis, the smallest agency in New York is losing its primary suicide prevention tool. Right. So, in order to make some cuts, Zohran is going to take away the things that stop the people who serve this nation from killing themselves by, like, jumping in front of the E-train. Right. That's going to work. You know what you could do, Mayor Mamdani, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm just going to give you some advice. You know what you could do? You could just not do like 80% of the things you said you were going to do, because normal people like me have been sitting around saying that you couldn't do them even if you wanted to. I will give you a perfect example of this. Are you ready? Y'all ready for this? The budget that Kami Mamdani has decided to put forth is $127 billion. That is $10 billion more than the budget for the entire state of Florida. That's right. New York City, which is like 9 miles wide, if you go from like Queens to the Bronx and then across to Staten Island. So we'll go, what would that be, like 20 square miles? That math is wrong. You'll all live. Like 20 square miles, their budget is bigger than the entire state of Florida. And somehow, he just can't figure out what to do. But Kami Mamdani's got a plan, everybody. He's got a plan. He's got this new idea. He's got this new idea that nobody's ever heard of before. Are you ready? He wants to appoint a new office in each department in New York City. He's calling it a chief savings officer. A chief savings officer. What the hell does that sound like? He wants to appoint somebody to go into each one of the agencies around New York City and find places that can be cut or trimmed or, a little off the top. He's trying to figure this out. What can he do here? How can he do this? My question to everyone on the political right who isn't complete. My question to you is, what does this policy sound like?
We are being as aggressive as we can in recognizing additional revenue and have surpassed the state in our estimates of personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax. But responsible governance is not only about revenue. It is also about discipline. That means finding savings across city government, reducing bureaucratic waste, and rendering agencies more efficient and cost-effective. That is why I signed an executive order establishing a chief savings officer in every city agency. Chief savings officers, or CSOs, have a simple remit: identifying savings within the agencies they serve. They will consolidate redundancies, insource programs that have been outsourced to bloated consultant contracts, and eliminate extraneous programs. Each CSO will issue a public report by March 20th, detailing the savings they have found and provide updated assessments every 6 months. These CSOs will have clear goals: 1.5% in savings in fiscal year 2026 and 2.5% in fiscal year 2027.
Wait a minute. He wants to appoint somebody to go into each agency and find redundancies and bad contracts and waste and fraud and abuse. I'm sorry. Where could he have gotten that idea from? Where could he have stumbled upon such a brilliant... Oh, right. Yeah. Remember when the left thought this was a really stupid idea? Right. It's like he wants a chief savings officer. It's like he wants a department of efficiency in government. Man, I can't figure out where he might have gotten that idea from. But now suddenly the left is on board with cutting waste, fraud, abuse, redundancies, bad contracts with the city. And to be clear, there are a lot of them. There is an ungodly amount of them. I can't figure out where he got that idea from. I don't know. Sounds like a good idea to me. Maybe give it a whirl. But Kami Mamdani, he's doing a really good job. As Kevin O'Leary points out, he's actually about to be presented an award, is Kami Mamdani, as, maybe he's going to be a crappy mayor, which he will. But he's going to get an award from the people of South Florida, and it's going to be presented by Mr. Wonderful himself, Kevin O'Leary.
So I guess he's asking, what's a 2% tax increase on a multimillionaire?
If you're already the highest tax jurisdiction in America, it's a massive tax. You know, what I love about this guy, and I'm giving him credit, he goes big. He goes big, and he's got a fantastic social media team. This is great. This is bat poo-poo crazy, what he is proposing. And probably sometime next year, within 12 to 18 months, I will meet him in Miami and give him Real Estate Agent of the Year award. Because I'm not happy with what's happening. I can't get across the bridge anymore. I live in Miami Beach. Everybody from New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts is moving into my neighborhood. I'm pissed off. And this guy's just doing more of it. What he's proposing is beyond insane, but I love it.
You are
now,
very
I'm
dramatic
like everybody else. Listen, you guys live here. You're not paying your fair share.
I don't live here.
You've got to pay 110%. That's the right thing to do. Because he's not cutting spending.
No, but
he's just going to tax you into oblivion.
Oh, yeah. And look, also big shout out to my boy Johnny Tobacco, who got on that panel somehow before I did, which is crap. John, I'm going to call you after the show. Kevin O'Leary, look, we show you guys the Ish show that is the Abby Phillips program on this show a lot. It's normally with Brianna Lyman or Scott Jennings. But when Kevin O'Leary goes on there, he is all of us. A billionaire, mogul, businessman. He's really speaking for each and every one of us. And I got to tell you, Mr. Wonderful is just having way too much fun on this damn show.
Listen, she doesn't.
No, well, that's the wrong one. Watch, that's the wrong clip. Here's the right clip. Here's Abby Phillips trying to exit for a commercial break, and Kevin O'Leary not really having any of it.
They want to look
Why
at them
are you
again.
obsessed with him having them if he can't do
Because
anything with
he's
them?
creating
You know what
a
I'm saying?
pattern.
Like, what are you talking about?
Because you're creating the
that
likelihood where he can
What
come up with a
likelihood?
different...
He's going to make fake ballots for the next time out of the old
you
ballots
think
from
that's
this
out of the
time? Oh,
question.
okay.
But let me just make this point, which I think is...
This is deep stuff, lady.
Okay, let me just say something, though. We are seeing this happen over and over again, where the federal government is fabricating things, lying. Yes. Just in the last few weeks, we have seen cases involving... May I? We have seen cases involving federal agents with a Venezuelan national in Minneapolis, who they claimed had charged them with a snow shovel and attacked them. Christy, no.
Have to do with the
Let me get my point across, and then you can. And the point is that they charged them criminally, and when they went to court, evidence proved that what they had said was a lie. That this government lies. That's the point.
All right, Kevin, a quick last word.
Oh, wow.
Here it comes.
Which I'm
My
not sure.
last word is, you're all nuts. Like, that's just...
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Kevin.
Guys,
Am I in on that? Okay.
look, we got to keep it together here, okay?
We are. Too
late.
Honestly, I mean, there's a way to talk about.
I want to be clear. If you had to show the Abby Phillips show on CNN in one photograph, it would be this one. Unbelievably successful human being, laughing his ass off, miserable woman no one has ever heard of on the left.
About these things. If you don't have anything to say, just say that, and I won't come to you next time.
You don't
All
have
right,
basic
next
information,
for us,
Kevin. You
everyone.
don't know who's running for
Everyone,
the Senate
thank
in
you
Texas.
for being here.
That was a stretch. It was
Next,
insane.
excuse me.
A shovel to the
Excuse me.
ballots?
Stop,
What's the shovel?
Kevin. Stop.
The federal government lies.
Next for us, we are
Sorry, that's
honoring.
crazy.
We are honoring.
I'm really happy that Abby Phillip was able to keep control of that. It's not like anybody called somebody a Nazi or brought up the Gestapo or yelled about white supremacy. It's not like anybody did that. Kevin O'Leary was incredibly offensive because what he did was he told a woman who is batshit crazy that she might be kind of nuts. The affront to the great Ana Navarro. Oh, Lord, how could we let that happen? The great and powerful Ana Navarro, who, of course, is one of the people who occupies a show called The View. The View, a show where if you were to take all of the neurons that fire in the brain of the women at that table, you might be able to power a toaster, did something, and I'm going to give you a little stereotypical today, okay? I'm going to get a little stereotypical, and some of the ladies aren't going to like it, but it turns out that someone, because I don't know if they know this or not, the internet lasts forever. And we can go back, and there's people out there who just tape The View all day long just so they can put together montages like this. Is there anything on planet Earth that describes liberal white women or just liberal rich women in general that they get exactly what they ask for, and then when they get it, they aren't satisfied? Here's the gaggle on The View calling for the release of the Epstein files. And if you have nothing to hide, then what the hell do you have to hide? And then they got exactly what they asked for, and
Bottom line is this. Release the damn files and release them now. Release everything.
If this does not implicate Donald Trump, why wouldn't you say release everything? They absolutely have to show us what they're all hiding. If there's nothing to hide, release it all.
But all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
Because, they should just say, listen, this is what it is. Do you want to offer your G2? Okay.
And it looks like they said no thanks.
Yeah.
So in other words, anybody can be on this list.
Well, this is my point, because I'm telling you, when I tell you people...
Oh, right. So let me get this straight. Star of the classic film Theodore Rex. Great work, by the way. Buddy cop film with a Tyrannosaurus. I don't know how no one could have played that role but Whoopi Goldberg, truthfully. 1.4 on IMDb, just saying. Turns out you got exactly what you asked for. And when you got what you asked for, you didn't like the outcome of it. I don't know if there's anything on planet Earth that describes the women of The View better than the release of the Epstein files. You bitched and bitched and bitched and bitched and complained all day long that they weren't releasing it. What do you have to hide? This and that, and then you release it. It turns out Whoopi Goldberg's name happens to appear in the files, not because I think she was ever at any of the parties, because if I was going to throw a giant orgy on my secluded private island, I think I would probably not invite the woman from the Sister Act. I'm just going to roll the dice. I might have, some other people I would, invite before I invited Whoopi Goldberg to my giant private island orgy. They're still not happy. There's no satisfying these women. I would call them wives, but I know many of them are single. Can't imagine why. Cannot imagine why. But of course, that wasn't the only part of where Mr. Wonderful was having just a little bit too much fun with a cast member on. Can you believe it? Can you believe Anna Navarro is somehow able to be the star of 2 news programs? How is that possible? How is someone with such a limited knowledge of anything able to get on 2 shows? Johnny Tobacco, give me a call, babe. Come on, I need to know who books for that show. I need that more than I need anything else on planet Earth. Here was Mr. Wonderful just having some fun at the expense of the illustrious, the unbelievable, the greatest among us, the Socrates of our time, AOC.
Listen, she's not a foreign policy expert.
Clearly.
And so, no, she's not.
Clearly.
She's not.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Come on, give her a break.
You guys, this is
You don't even know who's
Like,
running in Texas, okay? So there's a ton of
exhausting.
things you don't know. Stop being so condescending.
For 5 seconds, let somebody finish their thoughts before you have to be
I would like to
rude.
see how you would be able to answer that. Look, I think that it takes a lot of courage, and I think for her to be expanding her message, for her to be expanding her areas of policy interest are a good thing. She is one of 435 members of Congress. There's a lot of them there that don't come with a breadth of foreign policy
You're right. She
knowledge.
was fabulous.
It's not about her being fabulous. It wasn't.
Let's say something here.
It wasn't about
Let's
her
say
being
you're hired to give a speech. Let's say you're
Oh, Anna Navarro, AOC is expanding her foreign policy knowledge. Oh, really? So let's just say China invaded Taiwan today. And AOC had to vote on whether or not to go to war with China. Should we wait until she has finished her deep dive into her new area of foreign policy expertise? I don't know. If Congress is the best place for you to sort of be feeling out what positions you may have, I think you should probably have them before you get there. Considering, and I still am mind blown at this notion that AOC gets a vote on whether or not to send your children to die in war. I mean, that is not just sitting here right now thinking, wow, if there was a declaration of war, AOC would get to vote on whether or not to send me there. So if we went to war with Venezuela, AOC would get a vote to send me to a place that she doesn't know where it is. She doesn't know where it is. She knows that it's south, but then again, to me and AOC, New Jersey is south. So I guess somewhere between Antarctica and Staten Island is Venezuela. Which, to be fair, she's still working out her foreign policy bona fides, as Anna Navarro says there. The amount of work, I mean, it has got to be exhausting to be a Democratic pundit. It's got to be exhausting. Anna Navarro is going to pull a muscle having to reach to defend AOC. Now, there are some Democrats out there, some that actually matter, some that don't talk on television, who are starting to get a little bit befuddled by the fact that AOC may or may not be completely. I have to lower the volume when I say that word now. So just know, I'm sure the chat will know what word I said. I'll let you guys figure that out for yourself. There are some Democrats, major Democratic politicos, major Democratic donors, who are a little bit miffed at the fact that AOC may or may not be completely, you know the word.
I think that this is such a, I think that this is this is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
You feel for somebody when they're not ready for a moment. You really do. World stage, word salad served up. The dismal reviews for Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's words and remarks and pauses and gasps for anything to say coherently there are really getting bashed today. She was at the Munich Security Conference, and the bashing is coming in a bipartisan way. Here's former ABC News journalist Mark Halperin.
It takes a major screw up for the New York Times to put in their story about AOC that she had, I think they said it was a stumble or something. It has to be a really bad stumble. She has no feeling in her bones about Taiwan. She just thought, well, I'll go with the memorized answer. And I don't think even the Democratic Party will make somebody the nominee if they can't answer that question.
She didn't go with a memorized answer. Democrat strategist Dan Turrentine here.
It was a reminder of you're now on the big stage. Her team hyped her appearance. She froze like a deer in headlights.
And this tough assessment from a veteran New York Democrat strategist, here's the quote: "It was a beauty pageant to show that she had some chops about international issues, and she showed a complete lack of chops." He goes on to say if she runs for president, quote, She's now given the opposition tons of ammunition to destroy her. President Trump weighed in.
I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. AOC, I never heard her speak very much. They started answering a question. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world.
So that's the context, and that's important to.
I mean, look, as embarrassing as it is, what AOC did there on the world stage, at least the rest of the world got to find out that having a large Instagram page doesn't make you intelligent. And the irony of the whole situation is that the question of China and Taiwan, it's not like it's, new. It's not like it's something that just popped up last week. She hasn't really looked in on it too much. She hasn't really figured it out yet. And look, it is a very real possibility, an incredibly real possibility, that AOC is some part of the 2028 ticket. Whether it's Kamala AOC, whether it's Gavin AOC, whether it's AOC Buttigieg, that's a very real thing. Luckily, the one good thing about it is that every time AOC does stuff like this on the world stage, Greg Gutfeld gets to have a little bit of fun for all of us.
The way she mocked J.D. Vance, that, the idea that American cowboys came from Spain, that was so stupid. She's wrong. They were brought there, in the 15th century by some guy. Get this. Do you know what his name is? Cortez. She's a direct descendant of the guy that brought the horses to Mexico and then to America. So weirdly enough, it was Cortez who brought the horses and then later gave us an ass. Anyway, I think the Democrats are blessed with the binary filter of being within our border, where Democrats and Republicans are kind of seen as intellectual equivalents because there are two parties. But once you step outside the country, that equality evaporates, on contact. It's like two guys playing Call of Duty. Then they both go to war, but only one has real combat and experience and skills. That's when that's what happens to the Dems when they leave the house and they venture outside and you see that they know nothing. And it's like on cable news, you could see AOC and Gav can raise themselves up by sparring online with Trump. And you might think they're in the ballpark, but they're not even in the same country. And I think the mistake since Obama was focusing on identity, but not national. In fact, it was the opposite of national identity. It was splintered factions and causes, whether it was trans, illegal rights, felon justice, kind of activist-driven climate pronouns.
He keeps going on, but honestly, the advantage of having AOC be as dumb as she is that at least we get good clips from Greg Gutfeld. But shockingly, I got to tell you guys, AOC was not the biggest disappointment on the world stage over the course of the last couple of weeks. This will be the first and only time since this show has been on or hereafter that I discussed one of the dumbest sports on planet Earth. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmor.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. That's tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. So, let's talk about a sport, I guess you can call it a sport, that I don't care about. Now, and look, I like all sports. I really do. I'm like the only person I know that likes soccer. I think curling is both the coolest and dumbest thing human beings have ever created. So I like most sports. But let's talk about figure skating. That's just about the least heterosexual thing I've said on this show of all time. Let's talk about someone named Amber Glenn. Amber Glenn representing the United States on the world stage over the course of the last several weeks, getting to live out every kid's, well, not every kid's dream, some people's dream, of being an American, well, certainly not my dream, of being an American figure skater. Of getting to spin around in a rapid fashion while skating around. If that's your thing, whatever blows your head back. I don't know anything about figure skating because, obviously, well, as we saw, many of the American Olympians decided that when they went to Italy on their free trip to Italy for 2 weeks, I very much... poor them, that they would speak out on the politics of the day. They would speak out on the politics of the day, and they would use their platform. They would use their platform to fight the injustice going on in America. Let's talk about Amber Glenn. Amber Glenn! So brave! So bold!
Yeah, it's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. And I think that we are able to support each other in a way that we didn't have to before, and because of that, it's made us a lot stronger. I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and encourage people to stay strong in these hard times. I know that a lot of people say, you're just an athlete, like stick to your job, shut up about politics, but politics affect us all. It is something that I will not just be quiet about because it is something that affects us in our everyday lives. So, of course, there are things that I disagree with, but as a community, we are strong and we support each other, and brighter days are ahead of us.
As a community, you got to make sure you say as a community like 3 or 4 or 500 times in each one of your speeches. I want you to say so brave, so bold, so brave, so bold. Now, sports figures throughout time have used their platforms to speak up about injustices of the time. You had Bill Russell speaking up on civil rights, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. You had Muhammad Ali against the Vietnam War, got stripped of his title for doing so. And somehow things in America have gotten so good that now we have to hear some woman named Amber Glenn talk about what it's like to be queer in America and apparently finish 13th in the Olympic Games. 13th. That's right. She used her platform of being the worst at the Olympics to ramble on about utterly nothing. Now, look, there are obnoxious Olympic athletes, but I want our country to win. I do. I want us to win. I want us to be the greatest in the damn world. However, I got to say, when I woke up this morning and found this obnoxious woman came in 13th, I realize that's ironic, considering she's on her 15th minute of fame, and she will drift away back into obscurity, never to be heard from again, probably end up some coach at a university somewhere, making, minimal amounts of money, or she'll end up on a Bud Light can. Who the hell really knows? That's right. Amber Heard. Amber Heard. I'd rather hear Amber Heard's take on politics. During Tuesday's short program, came in 13th place. 13th. Maybe, and look, I don't know because I don't spin around really fast for a living. Maybe if you had spent a little bit more time worried about your routine than you did about adequately representing the community, whatever the hell that means, maybe you would have finished on the first page of the results. You know when they go through all the results and there's like a whole list of people and then the screen flips over again? Yeah, she was on the second page of that. So while I do want to see, and then she cried, naturally, because she had one shot to be famous and, didn't. But, at least she got to speak up for the community. 13th. I don't know. So maybe when people say shut up and do your sport, maybe that's what they're talking about. Or maybe she always sucked. And speaking up about the political times in which we live was the only way anyone would ever know the name Amber Glenn. Now, I'm kind of being a dick right now. I'm sure you can feel it. And I'm doing that on purpose. Because I think it's important. I think it's important for people representing America to, like the country. I don't know if I'm asking a lot. Look, if this girl came in 13th and she had just shut up about it, I'd have been like, oh, that sucks. It's a shame we didn't do better. But considering she's one of the most obnoxious people I've ever heard in my entire life, I'm taking great joy in the fact that she lost. I'm taking great joy in it. Because, why the hell not? Why the hell not? So I bid a fond farewell to Amber Glenn. Good luck with whatever the hell it is you're planning on doing next. C'est la vie, lady. We'll be back in 1 second. Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sail because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. You guys having fun today? I'm having some fun today. I hope you guys all are too. Good things are happening all around. Good things are happening all around. Very good stuff. Guys, even better news on the economic front. Markets continue to rise. Things continue to happen. Federal waste, fraud, and abuse continues to be cut. I spoke with Senator Mike Lee a little bit earlier. He seems incredibly confident about the passage of the SAVE Act, or at least the proposal to put the standing filibuster on the floor. Of course, the government would have to reopen first. Did you know that? The government shut down? Did you notice? I didn't notice. And apparently, markets didn't notice either. Because you see, what I love about it is that with markets continuing to be up today, is that they're starting to realize that having the government shut down actually doesn't really mean anything in terms of economic forecasting. Carolyn Levitt took to the press room to drop economic truth bombs left and right, dropping bombs all over the place like we're hovering over Iran.
Signs every day that 2026 is going to be a record successful year for the American people, just as President Trump promised them. The January jobs report shattered expectations, highlighting how the president's pro-growth economic agenda is fueling American prosperity. The economy added 172,000 new private sector jobs to kick off the year. That's more than 2.5 times economists' predictions. The labor force participation rate went up while the unemployment rate fell. The prime age labor force participation rate is now at its highest since 2001. Most importantly, 100% of all job creation under President Trump continues to be in the private sector. This is truly remarkable. That's 615,000 private sector jobs that have been added in President Trump's second term thus far. These are real working people. These are real American families who will be living out their American dream. Meanwhile, federal government employment has shrunk to its lowest level since 1966, saving taxpayers $29 billion annually. And all of the net job growth under President Trump has gone to native-born Americans, ending the disgraceful pattern under Joe Biden of job gains going to non-citizens and illegal aliens. Additionally, on inflation, the new CPI report is even more proof of the progress made by President Trump. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts, the president has managed to utilize powerful tariffs to secure trillions of dollars in investments into our country and rebalance our trade deals while simultaneously cooling inflation. Year-over-year inflation fell to 2.4% in January, beating expectations again and marking the lowest level since May. Core inflation, the best measure of inflation, dropped to its lowest level in nearly 5 years. Meanwhile, real average hourly earnings for all private sector workers rose in the month of January, which means more money is going back directly into people's pockets. After only 1 year of President Trump back in office, real earnings for all private sector workers have outpaced inflation by nearly $1,400, earning back roughly half of the $2,900 they lost under Joe Biden when 40-year high inflation was stealing Americans' purchasing power. President Trump's policies are and will continue to allow Americans' incomes to go further for bills, retirement, and achieving the American dream. A key part of the American dream is buying a home. And that is finally becoming more affordable under this president. This past week, it was announced the annual mortgage cost for a new home has fallen by $4,000 so far under President Trump, after rising by roughly $15,000 under Joe Biden. As a result, mortgage affordability has reached a 4-year best following recent bold action by the president to make home ownership more attainable for American families, not large Wall Street corporate institutional investors. At the same time, national median rents have fallen to a 4-year low and have declined for 6 consecutive months. The annual rental cost for a new rental unit has fallen nearly $100 so far under President Trump, after rising more than $3,000 under Joe Biden. And many are crediting that to the president's deportation efforts to remove illegal aliens from our communities and therefore from housing that should be used for American citizens. At the grocery store, the price of eggs, dairy, cheese, fresh fruit, apples, oranges, potatoes, tomatoes, and butter have fallen since President Trump took office, and he is continuing to fight for even lower prices at the grocery store for the American consumer. At the gas pump, fuel prices are down by almost 10% over the past year. The average national price for a gallon of regular gas is now less than $3 and is approaching $2.70 in some states, and much lower than that in many states across the country as well. We've seen in several states gas is under $2 a gallon. And at the
Now, look, we got all that economic news. We got all that Phenomenal economic news with mortgage costs going down, the price of gas going down, inflation going down. Everything is looking like it's headed the right way. The markets are up, not affected by this preposterous government shutdown that has been in effect for 5 days. Not that any of you noticed. But the press, guys, look, you got to hand it to the people in that press room. You got to hand it to them because they're focused on the stuff that matters. They're focused on the stuff that really matters. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if we would be as informed on the matters that truly impact each and every one of us. I don't think we would be. So all that economic news comes out, and then the first question Carolyn gets is this.
Question. Then yesterday in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts, through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also...
Thank God. Thank God we had that sort of hard-hitting reporting. Because if we didn't, I don't think we would be okay. I don't think we'd make it as a nation without tough questions like that. So much so that about 20 minutes ago, President Trump came out at a celebration for Black History Month and called Jesse Jackson a great guy. Now, Mr. President, love you, bro. But he wasn't. He was a poverty pimp who found a way to make black people successful in Chicago, one in particular himself. Obviously, I'm speaking about Jesse Jackson. I'm sure early on in his life when he marched with Dr. King and he was on the balcony when Dr. King was shot, I'm sure he really was doing great things. However, as Thomas Sowell very famously said, everything in the world starts out as a movement, turns into a business, and then turns into a racket, which is exactly what he did. If you've been to Chicago recently, you can see the absolutely tremendous growth that has gone on in Jesse Jackson's house. And that's about it. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't remember the time when Jesse Jackson falsely accused 3 Duke lacrosse players of gang rape with no evidence whatsoever because they had the audacity to be from white families, white rich families, one of whom on Long Island, one of whom I played against, another from North Jersey. They had the audacity to come from successful families. So, no, Mr. President, love you, bud, but Jesse Jackson wasn't a great guy. He was a poverty pimp, which is a great phrase. He also gave us one of the most detrimental things in American culture, and that is the hyphen. African American, Italian American, German American, Irish American, English American. No, you're just an American. I'm not an English American. I'm not an Irish American. I've never been to those places. No one in my family has ever been to those places. Just because a very, very long time ago, someone who may have been related to me showed up on a shore in Cork doesn't make me Irish. If you need any more proof of that, watch what happened when the people from the Jersey Shore went to Italy and they all threw tomatoes at them because they are not Italian. So the hyphen, one of the most detrimental things in America. You think if black people live in Germany, they call themselves African Germans? No, they're just Germans. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I don't run a racket like Jesse Jackson. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling. Having a good time. I don't know if you guys can tell. Not a huge fan of Jesse Jackson over here, but why would I be? Why would I be? Before we keep going, we got one more story that I want to make sure that I get to. Guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at lfatv.us. That's the best way to keep this network running and all the lights on over here. Keep Kevin fat and happy. Go to lfatv.us. So let's talk about the most overrated band ever. The most overrated band in the history of sound. And of course, that would be U2. U2 sucks. They really suck. Not as bad as Dave Matthews, but they're pretty bad. Well, they have decided that they're going to release a new album. Luckily, they're not going to force it all onto your iPhones like they did that last piece of crap album a couple of years ago. But they have now decided that they are going to write songs about very important things like Renee Good and Gaza. Right, guys. Very good. Bono, by the way, you've been doing phenomenal things with World Hunger for the last 30 years. How's that going? Maybe focus on like making music people like instead of just forcing it onto people's phones who didn't ask for it. I hate U2, both because of their aggressive virtue signaling and their music sucks. It's not that it sucks. It's just that when it plays, my ears hurt. They're caused pain due to the lack of quality of their music, and their fans are in a cult. Same with Dave Matthews. You ever meet a Dave Matthews fan? They think the guy's God. He's written like 2 songs. And for some reason, his concerts go on for like 12 hours. And I'm sure that's upset plenty of people in the chat. So it's 4 o'clock, and I'd like to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Guys, Hannah Faulkner's coming up next right here on LFA TV. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. You guys can use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.